Good evening everybody. My name is Allistaire Lawrence. I'm the Executive Chef at Boschendal wine estate, and today I'm going to be demonstrating a Bobotie with a twist. As long as I can remember, Bobotie has been a feature on our family's dinner table or Sunday lunch table, and it's steeped rich in our history. But it's also being synonymous, or is very synonymous with South African cuisine, and whenever you say South African cuisine, it's always the first thing that people say or people mention. To start the recipe off, we're going to be spicing the Shin with a curry spice, a homemade curry spice, and then from there we're going to be marinating it for about 3 hours or so, just to allow the flavors to infuse. Once that's marinated for 3 hours or so, we're going to move across to South African favorite, the braai. We're going to be sealing the meat off and allowing all those flavors to come through. The nice smoky charcoal flavors, and just all it does is just gives the meat a nice depth of flavor. So we drizzle the Shin with some oil, and we just rub it in lightly. And what this does is it allows the spice to stick to the meat, so none of the spice is wasted. Makes nice contact with the meat, and you get all that flavor in there. And now we allow it to sit for 2 to 3 hours just for all those flavors to infuse. So once the meat's been marinating for 3 hours, we move it across to the braai, and we give it a nice seal on the braai. And like I said, what it does is all these smoky charcoal flavors enhance the flavor of the meat. It also gives it a nice depth of flavor when there's little bits of chewiness and char and all those sorts of things. So it definitely adds a different dimension to your standard generic Bobotie. Once we've sealed the meat nice in the braai, you can see it's got some nice char, and there's some amazing smoke flavors coming through. It will definitely give the meat a different depth of flavor. We're going to start with the braising process. So we put the Shin into a heavy bottom pot. Okay? So we'll start with the carrots, leeks, onions, celery, garlic, some rosemary, thyme and bay leaf, some toasted spices, and we finish off with our red wine and our beef stock. So once we've added everything, we're going to take this over to the oven, and we're going to braise it at 160 degrees for probably 3 or 4 hours, or until the meat is soft and falling off the bone. Once you've taken the meat out of the oven, just allow it to cool a little bit, and allow all the juices to be soaked up by the meat. Once it's cooled down and you can work with it, we're going to pick the meat off the bone into rough chunks. Take the stock and strain it, and then we can use the stock a bit later for the cooking process. So to start the Bobotie mix, we're going to start with a little bit of oil in the bottom of the pan. We're going to fry some onions and some garlic. Then we're going to add some curry powder and some turmeric. Once the onions start turning translucent, we can add the garlic. We can add some thyme. Bay leaf. And then next we add the curry powder and the turmeric. Once we've added the curry powder and the turmeric, we just allow it to cook for 5 or 6 minutes or so, just to allow the spices to cook out and it's not raw. Okay. Next we're going to be adding a homemade fruit chutney. This is dried fruit chutney. If you don't have any homemade fruit chutney, you can substitute it with any other fruit chutney. Now we add the roughly picked meat beef shin meat. So now we cook the meat for about 5 or so minutes. Remember that it's cooked already, so you don't want to mix it too much because you want that nice chunky pieces of beef shin, but you also want the flavors to mix through properly, so you get a nice evenly distributed flavor. Now that the mix is ready, we can just take it off the heat and just allow it to stand for a bit. Try and even it out nicely because you need to put the layer of egg custard over the bobotie mix. So we start with the eggs. Okay, and some milk. So before we pour the egg custard over, we add a little bit of bay leaves, which is traditional. Then we just pour the egg custard over to make a nice layer over the bobotie mix. Now we pop it into the oven at about 160 degrees. It should bake for about 10 to 15 minutes or until the egg custard is set. Okay. So once the bobotie is baked, you'll see it's got this beautiful brown layer. You want that crispy, crusty sort of texture. So to start off with, we're going to add our accompaniments. Some cucumber that we've salted and lemon juiced. There's also some mint and some fresh fennel in there, and some homemade yogurt. So with the bobotie, we are serving some jasmine rice that's got a selection of spices, fresh herbs and lemon zest in. So it's a very fragrant rice. And now for the bobotie.